I'm Mike LEIGHTON. I don't normally do videos, but I thought that this was quite an important point that I'd really want to get across. So what I'm wanting to talk about is our ever popular LVS splitter and some of the other cheaper options that are on the market that look very similar. But today we're going to explain why ours is that much better. You know, the whole process started with a vision of wanting to create a full kit for the new T6.1. Now, those thoughts came about probably pre-T6 model. The idea came into our heads or into my head, and we wanted to create something different rather than relying on other countries basically to bring up, to bring things into the market, China, etc., and what have you, not very good quality, or not so much not very good quality. You can't knock them, massively, but wasn't to the quality of what we wanted. So we went about and we found a cool design company that worked with OEM. We then started the process of creating the LVR, basically. As we went through that, we started the process rolling, moving forward, getting further along. Once we actually realized the time scale of what this thing was going to take to create from design, manufacture, etc., we realized that it was going to take that long. We needed something quicker to come to the market. So from that point, from the LVR, the LVS was born, because we actually took the LVS from the bottom of the LVR front bumper, which we then brought that into the market. It was a much quicker product that we could, less tooling, etc. We then brought that to the market after the LVR, believe it or not. So the teams that are involved in manufacturing and bringing the LVR and the LVS to the market, they are top of the game. They work with Jaguar Land Rover, Aston Martin, McLaren, Lotus. So, we have been working with OEM quality all the way through. So with this team, they engineered a CAD model to simulate and match production fixings to ensure gap and flush would be as per CAD production. At this point came the decision of how much we're actually going to spend on the production of, the parts. We started off with a budget in mind, which was, put it this way, we thought that 160 grand was a lot, and where we ended up was a lot more. We looked down the process to all the different types of tooling, the different types of how bumpers are made, how splitters are made, which comes down to rim, full injection molding, which all basically comes down to how the actual end product will fit. We ended up going for, obviously, like we've said before, the full OEM quality product. To make that, you basically need massive pieces of metal, which is then CNC machined out which takes months. So for the LVR bumper, I think it took something like 3 months for the thing to be engineered, basically millimeters per day, to get to where the two pieces of metal come together and they create the injection mold. So the model that we came to was the full injection molding, full on, exactly the same as OEM, etc., etc., etc. The cost of this was circa £1 million for everything, which is, to make that decision mid-lockdown, Corona life, it was a little bit ballsy, but anyway, we went for it. Who dares wins, and we've done pretty well. So this process gives us the insurance that all our products that we make are to the highest of standards. It fits nigh on as perfect as what you're going to get. The LVR just clips into place using the exact B-side fixings as the OEM does. So basically you take off your original OEM bumper and ours just clips straight on using the same fixings. On the LVS, you offer it up, it's CAD engineered via the OEM guys, and the production of the mold, it's going to fit snug and as perfect as what you're going to get. This allows the parts to be managed through the VW recycling process. So when it comes to its end of the life, it's a more greener product. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pass you over to Adam. He's going to talk you through and show you the actual differences between our LVS and the other cheaper options that are on the market.
So, just following on from what Mike's been saying about the bit of the background, the design, the tooling and CAD engineering stages of our LVS, there's just a couple of things that I want to touch on, such as we were extremely wary of material joint lines which could affect strength, etc. and things like that. Now you look across our LVS, there are no material joint lines whatsoever. And again, that is down to what Mike was saying, just the sheer enormity of a project, of getting the design engineers to do the designing right, the CAD engineer to do his bit right, and the tooling and the manufacture to be done exactly as per CAD production that we wanted. So now we've gone through a bit of background on the LVS, we're going to touch on some competitor products which are out there on the market at the minute. Now, these two that we've got here are from completely different companies. However, first thing that we noticed is they're actually the same splitter, but just with a different mouthpiece added to each one. Now, first of all, what I can see straight away looking at these is a couple of little finishing touches, such as these pressing marks across the front. The lines aren't exactly straight or smooth even on some bits, and these mouthpieces they're just self-tapped in, which actually this one actually came with a couple of self-tapping screws missing, so already that splitter is coming away from the mouthpiece. Now, things like the pressing marks and things like that is something that we were massively aware of, and we did not want them at all. With us sending this product out, not just across the UK, but all over the world, we wanted people to take this out of the box and it be perfect. Whether it was painted or unpainted, this had to have the wow factor when you took it out. So we worked really hard and we went through a couple of different versions of samples to get rid of any pressing marks and joint lines that were across this part. Just moving on to the next thing about these two splitters is, like I say, we can see that they are the same, and it's the lack of rigidity against them. Now, I'm not really moving that at all, but that wobbliness on the ends means the paint, the prep and the fit is going to be really hard work compared to our LVS, which stays rigid. I mean, you can see here, even without a bumper supporting it, our LVS splitter is the shape of the bumper. These two are bowing at the ends, which would mean you'd have to clamp them up on the ends, hold them in place, etc. while you bonded them. Now, again, just taking a look across these three splitters that we've got in front of us, as Mike's explained, ours is OEM injection moulding using OEM material specifications. Now, if anybody wants a copy of that material sheet and the material specifications, you are more than welcome to get that from us. These two, from what we can gather looking at them and talking to our engineers, these two are made using what's called a low pressure mould, which here at Leighton we would only use such a mould for interior dash panels, pieces and things like that, because it doesn't give the same sort of rigidity and strength as an injection moulding process does, like used on the LVS splitter. And that comes down to how we can see these moving about and wobbling and not holding the shape of a bumper compared to the LVS, which is sat there holding that bumper shape. Now, just heading back to the self-tapping screw scenario on these two splitters, we were doing a bit of thinking when we were in the first stages of design of the LVS on how we connect the splitter to the chin. Now, our LVS is a two-part kit. As Mike's described, the splitter came originally from the LVR front bumper design. So we took that splitter and we grafted it into a chin and splitter, which we could get out there faster and be the first on the market. These two, they are two-piece kits, but in terms of the mouthpiece, but really they haven't got an extra splitter which goes underneath them such as the LVS. Now, we were doing some on how we connect this splitter to the chin. For ease for the customer, for if ever you damage it or you end up ripping it off for any reason, we wanted it to be as easy as possible for you to swap that splitter over for another one. The reason we didn't use self-tapping screws is over time they will rust and they will spoil the look of that splitter on your van. Now, where these splitters fit onto the van, that is the front of the vehicle. That's what takes the most brunt from weather, road conditions, etc. Now, that means that those self-tapping screws are getting the brunt of road salt, rain, standing water, especially at this time of year. We've had to stop this video multiple times due to torrential downpours that you could hear on the microphone. So in a short space of time, that will spoil the look of your splitter. What we've done with the LVS is we've actually used these little clips. Now, these are an OEM bumper clip, which OEM manufacturers use for clipping bumpers together. Now, we thought what better product to use than this little push clip to secure the splitter to the LVS. That means very easily you can just unclip this, take the splitter off, or if you need to put a new one on because you've lost or damaged it, it's just a matter of a minute or two of clipping these up through the splitter into the chin. Now, with how strong these are, I kid you not, you will break the material before you break this clip. And that has been proven with some that we've seen. The material spec, like I say, is OEM. The clips that we use are an OEM manufacturer clip, which just adds to that whole quality feel of the LVS. So now we've done a bit of an overview of all these splitters. We're going to talk about the paint, the prep, and the finish that you will get from them. So I talked earlier about the rigidity of the LVS. Now, like I say, this holds its shape of the bumper off of the van. However, it moves in the right places but stays rigid in the right places. So for example, if you were to catch this on a high curb or anything like that, because of the material specification that we use in the process, it will move with the bumper to just soften the blow of impact. So theoretically, you're not going to do as much damage as, say, a fiberglass splitter. Now, a fiberglass splitter, for example, which I know there's some out there on the market, you hit that on a low curb at some force, it's got no movement in it, it's just going to split or take a chunk out of it. That's not going to happen with this because it moves in exactly the right places that we need it to. These two splitters that we've got in front of us, like I say, they don't hold their shape off of the van, which is going to have a massive impact on the paint, the prep time, the fitting time. The paint time is also going to be a bit higher than the LVS, we believe, due to having to get round the exposed self-tapping screws and everything like that. So the reason that this is going to take a longer time to prep and fit is because it isn't rigid. You're going to have to clamp it up on each end. I believe you may have to do some trimming potentially, don't hold me to that. But basically, because the quality engineering behind the LVS, we can offer this up to a van right now and it will hold onto that van without us even having to do anything. Also, what we've done with the LVS to improve your paint and fitting times and get that cost down as much as possible is we've added some bonding return lines on the B surface. So the B surface being the back edge that you don't see. So as you can see, we've got little lines all across the B surface of this splitter which allow an even spread of bond to go all the way across, so that no matter where this is touching the bumper, it has got the same even amount of bond all the way across it. Sadly, these two splitters haven't got that on there. It's also it's a little bit complicated on where you would potentially put the bond without it showing through or actually being able to get an even spread. So that's going to massively affect the fit and finish of that splitter. If you get more bond on this side and less bond on that side, you're going to have a bit of a bulge. It's not going to sit even on the bumper. Again, that's not going to happen with the LVS due to the sheer engineering that we've put in behind the scenes. So we've done a bit of an overview on prep, paint, finish, what will affect that side of things. Now, you can see I've got this standard van at the side of me. Let me just prove to you how well this fits onto a standard van without us doing absolutely anything compared to the 2 splitters that we've got in front of us. So I need a bit of a hand offering these splitters up to this standard van. Now, I'm going to call on someone that you'll have all seen on our YouTube before, and that is our glamorous sales manager, Jimmy. Come on, son. So we're going to start with the LVS. We're going to offer that up to this van. We're going to put it on as it would be if it was painted, and we're going to show you just how that goes. So what we want to do, Jimmy, is we want to hook that up, and we can see there straight away that is fitted. Now, obviously the bonding that we'd add on would then hook it up tight, but you can see there that fit is spot on. You're not going to get any better from any other injection molded plastic at all, or any other manufacturing process for that matter. And you can see there that it's already giving that desired look on that van, which is brilliant. So let's try one of the others. So we're going to move on to these 2 splitters now, offer these up, see what these go onto that van like. So we can see straight away, if you can lift that up, Jimmy, your end.
I'm trying. There we go.
Now, we can see there the gaps around the splitter itself. They're not exactly flush, and the edges aren't flush either, meaning there's going to be quite a bit of paint and prep involved to get that to fit as it should. So as you can see, in our opinion, this isn't the best of fit, and as Mike said, these 2 splitters are identical but with different mouthpieces in them. So we're going to grab the other one, we're going to see if that fits any better. So we've done that one, we'll grab the other one, we'll see how this fares.
That is terrible.
Now that one was actually a bit more of a pain than the other one, and to be honest, we can't. Are you as far as you can go that side, Jim? Yeah. We can't really get that one to fit as well as the other one around the number plate. I mean, just look at everything's. That's taking some real force to get up flush with the bumper. Again, meaning that it's going to have to be clamped up and probably maybe a bit taken off it somewhere to allow it to fit exactly flush. Now what I can see is we've got the exact same finish on this edge with a sort of piece missing as though there's a problem with the tool around under the fog light, and the same gap where the splitter meets the side of the bumper. And just another thing to touch on is the CAD engineering behind our LVS allowed us to get this edge to start off thick at the bottom for rigidity, but then very gradually get thinner so that it blends in with the side of the bumper. This one's these two are quite a chunky still right at the top, so you haven't got that nice flush finish to the bumper that you have with the LVS. So that's both of the splitters offered up. So we'll take this back alongside the LVS and we will move on. Now here at Leighton, we're not just interested in making the LVS look as good as it does. 50% of the thought process behind it was how easy is it going to be to fit, prep and paint. And a lot of that came with the extra bonding lines that we've put on to allow that even spread of bond, and also the side pieces going from chunky at the bottom for the rigidity and the shape of the bottom of the chin and splitter to then going nice and smooth and thin up to the edge of the front bumper. All that adds to a miles better fit, and also down to the clips and just how easy they are to fit that splitter onto the bottom of the LVS. Looking at these two splitters, we can't see any of those features that feature on the LVS splitter, such as the bonding lines, and just down to the material specification for that rigidity and that movement in the right places. Now, with us using the same material specs as VW, that means that the LVS, it won't expand and it won't shrink and it won't move in either hot or cold weather. So you can rest assured that no matter where in the world we sell this LVS to, it is going to remain that shape, and that's it. And that is down to, again, what Mike was saying about making sure we use those OEM processors, we use that OEM material specification, and we do everything by the book, which again has given us just this awesome product that we are super, super proud of. Now, here at LEIGHTON, we pride ourselves on the quality of our parts and not necessarily the price point that they are in the market. And after all, it's Mike's name that goes against these parts, which is why we want that quality to be as good as it physically can be. Now, I hope you can understand why we wanted to speak to you today about the LVS splitter and about some cheaper alternatives that are out there on the market. Now, we wanted to really just show you in depth what went on behind the scenes in the year running up to this part arriving on our shelves, and how much goes into just producing what people think is a very simple chin and splitter option. And I really hope we've got that across to you. I really do, because yes, we're not the cheapest on the market, but I would stand by and say that we have got to be the best quality part out there for the front of a 6.1, whether it's the LVR or the LVS splitter. Now, remember, quality is not expensive, it's priceless. Thank you, guys.